Example 2 says, what was the post-split number of shares outstanding for John Deere? So before the split, they had 1.2 billion. They did a 2-for-1 split. So you get 2 shares for every 1 share you used to have. So you just need to multiply the 1.2 billion by 2. Right? Every one of those 1.2 billion shares is now 2. So you would get 2.4 billion. And that's your answer. Down here, things are a little bit different. They're asking before the split. This is a 4-for-1 split, so that means for every 1 share that you had before the split, it's now 4 shares after the split. So somebody did the number of shares times 4, and they got this number. They're asking us to go backwards. How many did she have before the split? So I would multiply to figure out how much after the split. To figure out before the split, I'm going to divide. I'm going to do the opposite operation because I'm moving backwards. I'm moving in the opposite direction in time. Divided by 4. If you divide that out, you're going to get 3,200 shares. That's how many shares she had before the 4-for-1 stock split. Down below it says, what was the post-market price per share for John Deere in example 1? So again, it's kind of a pain to have to go back and forth. I get that. If you're looking at this, to see both example 3s, maybe make it a little bit easier. Okay, sorry, I'm going to start example 3 again. So they're asking, what was the post-split market price per share? If I'm going to do price per share and it's after the split, do you agree that my price would be less than it was before the split? If this is a traditional split, right? They're splitting the stocks in half for John Deere. It's a 2-for-1. So before the split, the price was, and let me just go back and look in example 1, $87.68. So they cut those in half, right? It was a 2-for-1. So I need to divide this by 2. So if I divide that by 2, I'm going to get 43.84. That's what each share was after the split. So there's the answer to the first one. And it says how many shares are outstanding. Well, we answered that in example 2 above. There's 2.4 billion shares outstanding after the split. This is the real important part of this question. It says, does the market cap change after the split? Remember, market cap means how much the business is worth. That did not change after the split. Yes, the price per share went down. It was cut in half. But I've doubled the amount of shares that I have. To get the market cap, I would multiply this 2.4 times the 43.84, and I would get the same number as I would before the split. So the last part of example 3, the second part, they instituted a 3-for-1 split. So this is still a traditional split. For every 1 share you have, you'll get 3 after the split. They say after the split, the price of 1 share was $39.24. What was the pre-split price per share? So if they cut every 1 share into 3 little pieces, and each piece was $39.24, before the split, right? Pre-split is what they're looking for. Before the split, 1 stock must have been $39.24, and there were 3 of them before the split. Oops, as I do a different number. So I need to multiply it by 3. So $39.24 times 3 is $117.72. There's a little decimal right there. That is the price of 1 share before the split, and that's what it's asking for there. Let's see if we can get to the next one. Okay, here they're going to give you some equations to use for example 4. So on October 15th, a 1 for 20 reverse stock split. So this is going the opposite way than we have before. Now, for every 20 shares you had before the split, they're now one single share. They've combined them, right? That would help them make sure that they're out of penny stocks. Maybe everyone is worth more. Before the split, the market share price was only 64 cents, and there were 580 million shares. What was the post-split share price and number of shares? So I'm going to kind of separate this. This is going to be price, and this will be number of shares. We have two equations up here. I'm going to use this one first to do the price. If you look above, it says for any A for B split. So in this case, 1 will be A and 20 will be B. I'm then just going to put that into this bottom equation. So the post-split price is going to be equal to B over A, so 20 over 1, and I got those numbers from up here, times the pre-split share price. So before the split, the price was only 64 cents. Oops, sorry, that's a 6. 4. So if you do that out, it pretty much turns out to just 20 times the 64 cents. You're going to get $12.80. So that means now that they've combined a bunch of shares, which is what they do in a reverse stock split, a single share is now $12.84. So it would get them out of the penny stocks, right? Penny stock is $5 or less. So now we're going to do the number of shares. So I'm going to look at this equation. Post-split number of shares, right? So number of shares is A over B. So for this example, it's 1 over 20 times the pre-split number of shares. That's how many shares there were before the split. And just before you do this math, if this reverse stock split combines shares, should my answer be greater than or less than 580 million? It should be less than. They should be combining these into shares. So if you do that math, you should get only 29 million shares after the 1 for 20 split. Okay. One more. This one you want to read really carefully. A major drugstore chain whose stocks are traded on the New York Stock Exchange was considering a 2 for 5 reverse split. So you would get 2 stocks for every 5 you owned before the split. If the pre-split market cap, so if the company was worth before the split $1.71 billion, what would the post-split market cap be? If you're talking market cap, oh, that was a horrible line. If you're talking market cap, remember that's the amount of money the business is worth before and after the split. There should be no change before and after a split. We're just kind of changing how that money is put together, right? It's like changing in a 2 tens for a $20 bill. Okay, that should not change. So no change. Man, my handwriting's horrible on this. Okay, no change. There should not be a change in your market cap. If there is, something is wrong. All right, one more example and we're done. Okay, fractional part of a share. I don't know, I'm hoping you kind of saw that in your vocabulary. This is what happens when they do a split and there's leftovers, right? You can't have a fraction of a share. You can't own that. So the company actually buys out the fractions and then combines them together to form full shares and can sell those. So this is kind of a situation where that happens. So it says Steve owned 942 shares of this corporation. They did a 5 for 4 split. So you got 5 new shares for every 4 shares you had before the split. The stock was selling at $56 per share before the split. What was Steve financially, was Steve financially affected by the split? Okay, so You first have to figure out what each one was post-split. So you can use those examples, those formulas you had above. So if I am going to figure out, let's do money first, just like we did above. And then we'll figure out shares, and then we'll kind of figure out from there. So for money, it's gonna be, remember this is your A, this is your B. Your formula for money for the price is gonna be B over A, so for us it's 4 over 5, it's an ugly 5, sorry, times the price, so 56. If you do that out, you get each share was $44.80. Okay, and if you're going to do number of shares, your formula kind of reverses. So number of shares post-split is A over B, so for us it's 5 over 4, times the number of shares, so 942. If you do that out, you should get 1,177.5 shares. That's where you should kind of be like, oh man, wait a minute. That's no good. You can't have 0.5 of a share. So what actually happens is the company buys this 0.5 of a share and writes Steve a check. If one share is worth $44.80, and you need to figure out how much 0.5 of a share is, you need to multiply those. I'm willing to bet a lot of you are looking at that and just, you know what the answer is, right? Or you know what you could do instead of just multiplying it by 0.5. 0.5 is a half, right? You need to find 1/2 of 44.80. That's another way you could think about this. The people that like the logic part, that might work. So 44.80 times 0.5, or 44.80 divided by 2, should leave you with $22.40. Steve's going to get a check for $22.40, and he will then own 1,177 shares of this company. Okay, last one. Gabriella owned that many shares of this company. The stock split 3 for 2. How was she affected? I'm going to do it here so it kind of goes quickly for us. So I'll do the same thing. I'll do money here. Remember, this is this bottom example just above. And I'll do shares here. The same formula. Remember, for your price, it's B over A. B, oh, excuse me, sorry. A and B. So B over A, so this will be 2 over 3 times the money, which was $62.79. Whoa, that's a 7. And you should get here for a price $41.86. Over here for your shares, you should do 3 over 2 times 1,045, and you should get 1,567.5. So again, you can't have 0.5 of a stock. You'll take the new price, $41.86, and multiply it by 0.5. Can't have a fractional part or a decimal part. And this is the amount that she will get a check for. She'll get a check for $20.93, and she will no longer own that fractional part. Okay, if you have any other questions, let me know. Your homework is below. Good luck.